Welcome to day 55 of 60 Days of Inspiration with Kathleen Gonzalez, and we are studying Living the Sacred Yes, Affirmations for Action by the Reverend Deborah L. Johnson. And one reason I decided to do the 60 days, and particularly to study this book, is because we are in, and everybody says this, but it's really true, an unprecedented time. And I knew that the levels of stress that we were under were so great that nothing I could do really on any other level other than the spiritual level could help as much as this can help. It's basically we need to rise above the stressors in order to go beyond the levels of stress we are experiencing right now, and if we can do that, and we can actually find some peace of mind within this turmoil, then we can begin to be creative and problem solving about what to do about what's going on right now, like what's the course of action. And without that, we're just running around in circles in fight, flight, freeze, appease, all these stress responses, and it never ends because this virus isn't ending, and our cultural problems aren't ending right now. And we have incredible opportunities where we really want to be at our best in order to respond and to contribute. And so how do we do that? And one way we do that is by moving to the spiritual, to our, looking to our spiritual foundations for the peace of mind and the safety that's there, because it's not safe anywhere else right now. And that is not really true, but that's what we're being told. And that's what there's so much fear right now. And so in order to get out of the fear, where do we go? We go inside into spirit. And if we can do that, we can come out refreshed and take a fresh look at what's going on, and perhaps take a different action, an action that's more constructive as opposed to a reaction to fear or in fear, a fearful reaction. So that's why I've been doing this. We only have a few more days, but I find today's reading to be so amazing, like so amazing. So here it is. And this was written 20 years ago, right? Almost. Taking the time to feel, deal, and heal. Our actions reflect our awareness of ourselves as, our actions, let's start over. Our actions reflect our awareness of ourselves as spiritual beings. They indicate the truth that we do or do not know. Energetically, we resonate with ideas that we share. Our individual thoughts create scripts in the drama of life in which we all participate. The most vulnerable among us acts out what the rest of us harbor in our hearts. What we refuse to look at in ourselves, we project onto others. The action of any one of us reflects some aspect of all of us. As I assume the responsibility to mind my own mind, I take the time to feel, deal, and heal. Wow. Okay. Our actions reflect our awareness of ourselves as spiritual beings. So if we are, and it can vary from day to day how connected we are to ourselves and our spiritual aspects. But the goal is to be as connected as possible in every moment, because we know that if we're in our heart, the power of love can overcome anything. I mean, it's It's the most coherent energy in the universe, right? And so we know if we come from love, our reaction is completely different than if we come from fear. And so our responsibility is to come from love as often as possible. And that's really difficult right now. And so that's why it's even more important to make that effort. And it's important for us mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, because the physical damage that comes from this fear and all the neurochemicals that course through our bodies when we're in fear is just going to make us like that much more vulnerable to this illness that's making its rounds in the world right now. And so the happier we can be, the healthier we can be, the more easily we would be able to, the less vulnerable we are, and the more sort of proactive to creating a world that we really want to have, we can be. And the root of that is to be as present in our spiritual foundation as possible in every moment. And we're speaking, so I'm going to start with this again. Our actions reflect our awareness of ourselves as spiritual beings. They indicate, our actions indicate the truth that we do or do not know. And so if we come from a place of lack, a place of zero sum, where there's only so many resources, and if you have them, I don't, and it's my job to grab as many rolls of toilet paper as possible because there's not enough. That doesn't work out for everybody. When we saw that, and I'm sure, I'm sure, it turns out that there really was enough toilet paper for everyone. Even those of us who didn't have a lot of toilet paper managed to find folks to share the toilet paper with us. And now there's toilet paper again. And it was a temporary run that was caused by fear. So this isn't indicating, the truth that we do or do not know. So some people didn't know the truth that there was really enough for everybody. And so they operated on the assumption that there wasn't enough. And they caused the result that they were afraid of, right? Energetically, we resonate with ideas that we share. These can be altruistic ideas, and these can be horrible ideas. But we resonate with them. And when we resonate with them, as we spoke yesterday, we give our life force to them. We give our life to them. And so we need to remember that. Like, what are we willing to give our life for? Okay? Our individual thoughts create scripts in the drama of life in which we all participate. Depending on our thoughts, we limit the possibilities of what, we limit what's possible. So if we don't believe something's possible, then we don't see the opening that is created for us to move into. And if we are focused on the negative, all we see, and this is physiological in our brain will filter for us. And so if we're looking for negative things, we will find them, we will see them. The brain does a good job at its assignment. And if we assign the brain to look for the negative, it will. And if we assign the brain to look for the positive, it will. And so it's our responsibility to control our individual thoughts and to be aware of them. This part is really fascinating. The most vulnerable among us acts out what the rest of us harbor in our hearts. So I think the things that frighten us the most things that we're really afraid of, it's really hard to watch those things because we're so afraid of them. It's hard to acknowledge that they're happening because we're so afraid of them. It's like our deepest fears getting acted out in front of us, and and we don't want to see it because it's so scary. If we could somehow release these fears, then we wouldn't have to see them. I know that sounds so intense, but yesterday we spoke about no matter what, if we resonate with a thought, whether it's in a positive way or a negative way, we give it more energy. So if we hold great fear, we're giving energy to those fears coming to fruition. And if we hold great love, we give energy to the love, those thoughts, those loving thoughts coming to fruition. And so it really is important to do everything we can to step out of fear. And I know, if you're working, when I work with my clients, I'm able to help them do that. And other coaches, other leaders, other friends, whomever you can ask for help with. If you have a fear you can't step out of, get help with that. Get assistance with that. We're not, as humans, we're not wired to do these things by ourselves. We can do it to a certain level, but if something is really deep, we're not able to do it on our own, and we really need to get help. And that's part of the beauty of being human, is that we get to help each other do this, and we can help each other do this. And so it's not always easy. And I've struggled for so many years to be in a place where I could actually be aware of my thoughts and change them if I needed to. It doesn't always keep me from going there, but once I'm there, I go, ooh, I don't want to be here anymore. And I have tools, tools that I teach, but tools to move us into, the positive, away from the negative. So what we refuse to look at in ourselves, we project onto others. And we'll find, and I think I spoke about this one other time, people who are very judgmental are generally judgmental because they're even harder on themselves. They judge themselves extremely harshly, and then they judge others. And the pain of all that is really deeply, deeply in the self-judgment. And if we can all give up self-judgment, that would do a lot to move the world forward. Honestly, it would do a lot to move the world forward. And so by looking at, it's like what we refuse to look at in ourselves, we project onto others. If we can actually look at that in ourselves, get some help. Look at that in ourselves. Pray on it. Whatever it takes to get beyond that, beyond judgment, beyond the fear, so we don't have to project it onto other folks. I don't know, have you ever had a bad day where it's like you're having a bad day and everybody's out to get you, and sure enough, somebody screws you over. It's like, yeah, we were looking for that. And we're blaming that person, but it's really something that we're not looking at in ourselves. So the action of any one of us reflects some aspect of all of us. So as horrid as all these murders and assaults have been, they're just acting out the energy that we as a culture have put in there for the entire existence of our culture. And so we have to know that if we go through and we take people's land and we take people's lives and we take people's humanity, that energy is going to be acted out. And what is it going to take for us to undo this? Because if we undo it, that has to be acted out. If we undo it, the good, the positive energy that goes into that gets acted out, and the results will be positive. The action of any one of us reflects some aspect of all of us. So if something is humanly possible, some human does it, it's humanly possible, right? So that's some aspect of us. So as I assume the responsibility to mind my own mind, I take the time to feel, deal, and heal. So the more I can heal myself, my fears, my disappointments, my betrayals, my loneliness, all those things, there's less of that in the world. If I heal myself, then there's less of all these things in the world, and the world heals. And if we all heal ourselves, there won't be any pain and suffering anymore. That's what it takes. It takes each of us to take responsibility to heal ourselves. So, taking the time to feel, deal, and heal. What tool do you have? Because we all have tools. So just think about, what tool do you have to change your mind? When you're minding your mind and you think a negative thought, what tool do you have that helps you change that negative thought into a positive thought? And will you commit to using it today? What tool do you have, and will you commit to using it today for the good of yourself, your family, your community, and humanity? See you tomorrow.